formative assessment tool that I used was the use of whiteboards. And introductory to a algebra unit, we were reviewing order of operations. So I put problems with various steps of order operations on the board, and the students did the problem on their whiteboards and then held them up when they were done. And it gave me a real good chance to walk around the room and real quickly see if they had the right answer and if they were showing their work. Most of the students did well, and the handful that didn't, I was able to intervene immediately and see that they were able to recognize where they had made their mistakes and go forward. If there had been a majority of the class that was not getting it, then I would probably have stopped the lesson and done a mini lesson up on the board and kind of readdressed the whole class. So as a quick formative assessment of a skill necessary for the day's lesson, I thought that it was a good form of formative assessment, and I would be very likely to use it again.
What we did as our formative assessment in my math class is I had the kids solving linear equations, and I asked them to stand up when they were finished. And the kids who took a little longer, I made sure I went over and checked in with them to see if they were struggling or if they were just taking their time. And I could help those kids who I thought were taking a little bit longer. And I felt like everyone was finished, and I said, okay, have a seat, and then I would ask them questions about the linear equations, like what each part of the equation means, and I'd have them stand up if they knew what the coefficient was, or if they knew what the y-intercept means. And so we did that a few times. We were kind of standing up and sitting down, and according to the questions that I was asking, to see where they were. And I feel like it works well, especially at the end of the day when the kids are antsy and tired of sitting, or want to really show, they're excited about showing that they know what's going on, or it gets the kids moving because they want to stand up. And so if they know what they're doing and they can show that on their paper or show that they understand what they're doing, they're anxious to stand up and do that. Instead of just sitting there working and maybe not working because they want to be able to stand up and show that they're done, and they get it, so they actually do the work. I think it works pretty good, especially towards the end of the day when they really need them.
So the formative assessment that I chose to use was the clickers. And my partner Keith helped me with what could be asked and that sort of thing. So I found a question that I thought would be appropriate and ran it off. And then I had an answer sheet that the kids could choose from. At the end of the class, Keith and I changed classrooms, and we went into his room, and his kids came in here. And the kids worked on the worksheet first, and then they found the answers that they thought would apply, and they did the clicking. And while they clicked, I walked around monitoring, and I have their worksheets here. And to tell you the truth, Keith and I printed a number of reports out that came as a result of the clickers. And the reports are interesting, but what I found really useful was looking at the student work. Far more useful than these reports. The reports may have their place statistically to keep track of some things, but I found out by looking real quick who knew and where the problems were and what needed to be re-explained. So I think overall it went pretty well. The kids understood it perfectly because they've used the clickers many times in science. The teacher, on the other hand, I had ABC matching 1, 2, 3, and there was some slight confusion about that, but the kids figured it out quite well. So if I did it again, there was a lot of planning that went into this. It wasn't just, it wasn't quite like a quick ticket out the door or raise your hand. I think there's some quicker assessments that could be done. It was interesting. Would I try it again? Sure, but I don't see a steady diet of it. What I did with information was looked at the student work and decided what to do the next day. This was the end of the class, of course, and what I chose to do was correct, if you will, or reteach certain things that kids weren't understanding about a given base and a given height and how many different triangles could be made. There were 3 or 4 kids that were really confused about that. The rest of the class did quite well.
So the formative assessment that I chose to do was monitoring notes. So right now we're doing covering and surrounding. So I prepared just a quick little formative assessment that I had on the overhead, doing area and perimeter. And then what I did is I went around from student to student, and based on how they did, I looked at correct answer, showing their work in a label. They got a plus if they had everything correct. They had a check plus if it was somewhat correct but had a little error. And if it was way off, then they just got a check. So I knew that they still needed some work to do. So I just went around and I kind of grouped all the pluses together. So if they did well, I put those names in one list, put their name in a plus. And the other ones, so that way they were grouped ahead of time. So I thought that worked really well. I could see right away that the majority of the kids got it, and I had that small group of just checks. And so we just, I pulled those kids aside later and to see what their main mistakes were. And as far as planning, since when I think of formative assessment, I think something that is it's not graded, it's just something that I can use right away to know where to go next. And so I just took those kids aside so I knew what mistakes to go over, and that's what we did. And I thought it went really well.